For the first terrarium, I'm using a jar like this and some copper string lights, and they are super magical. And you can also use different fairy garden accessories if you would like. So this is a super simple tutorial. Basically, you just add moss first and alternate the moss with the string lights, and you will see how that is accomplished. Basically, as you go along, you want to tuck in the light wires and sort of stick them down with the moss as padding and to hide the wire. Once you've gotten to the top of the jar, you can tuck in the battery pack into the middle of the moss and then basically hide the battery pack using more moss. Once you feel that the battery pack is secure, you can just leave a tiny spot at the very top so that you can turn the lights on and off. And that is it for the very first Fairy Lights terrarium. It's very simple, so let's keep going and see how I make the second. For the second, I'll be utilizing an old candle, and you will see why the lid is important in a second. I will be attaching the battery pack to the bottom of the lid to act as a holding mechanism. Also, I am using these small marquee lights that I got from Michael's. First, you want to remove any old candle wax that remains in the candle so that you can use it as a jar. And if you can't get all the wax out, make sure that you get out that metal piece in case you need to microwave it, because you cannot microwave metal. So then go ahead and remove any labels that are on the candle and wash it up so that it is nice and clean. For the lid of this terrarium, I'm going to make a sort of wood grain topper, which I think will make it a lot more magical. The polymer clay that I decided to use was actually quite hard, so I'm using a little bit of Vaseline to make the clay soft again. I'm using Transliquid Liquid Sculpey to attach the rolled out piece of clay onto the lid of the jar, which is metal and silicone, so you can bake the lid. Then just smooth out the clay around the edges of the lid until it sort of looks like a hamburger patty. Then using my cutter, I'm just going to engrave some wood grain texture into the lid. I'm also using some Pearl-X pigments to give my lid a more magical sheen, which I think definitely enhanced the magicalness of this lid. Once I was happy with the lid's color and texture, I baked it according to my clay's package instructions. Lastly, for the lid, I used black acrylic paint to give it a more aged and worn look. Then, just like the first terrarium, you're going to add moss and then the string lights, and then more moss in order to anchor the string lights into the jar. Then I'm attaching the battery pack to the bottom of the lid with little double-sided stickies, and that seemed to hold pretty well. And finally, when you're done adding and arranging the moss and the lights, this is what it should look like. I really hope you enjoyed watching this Fairy Lights Terrarium tutorial, and remember, you are never too old to believe in magic. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a magical day, night, life, and everything. You are amazing.